Hello, everyone. This is Sean, and welcome back to episode number 6 of our Willamette Valley Railroad Transport Fever Let's Play. We're on hard difficulty on a free game USA map. When we left off, it was 1901, and our first fuel train was returning to Eugene. Well, at least I was hoping that it was my first fuel train, but it turns out it's empty, and I didn't notice that on the way back, so that's a real shame, but we're still going to leave off there talking about fuel and building our economy. But we do. So now that we're in 1900, I believe our borrowing, our debt limit has increased. Should be increased to $30 million at this point. Is that the fuel train that's heading back? That one's empty too, huh? Arlington Fuel. So you must be getting stuff set up. I know I saw another fuel train head by. Yeah, so the Eugene Fuel got ahead of the Arlington Fuel. I must have let him out in the other order. Well, I was hoping to see those that fuel actually show up in Eugene, and I was kind of wanting to get the second Arlington train going, but Arlington doesn't even have any fuel demand building up here yet. Luckily, though, the Eugene train, what does this hold? 108? That's what I think it was holding, or that can't be right. Oh, it is 108. So it's going to be not quite full, but, you know, nearing full anyway. There's the train that we want to be watching. Oops. Or that stuttering, huh? Some fuel waiting. 12 of it loaded. Well, that's better than nothing. Getting these oil trains lined up to run profitably is a big important part of getting these cities to grow. You know, getting them food, they're going to grow pretty quickly with that. But I feel like the more goods you get, the faster they grow. Not just like food gives a 10% boost, and then oil gives a 10% boost, and then goods give a 10% boost, but more like the first item gives 10%, the second one gives 15, and the third one gives 20, something along those lines. It seems to be a huge growth once you start getting multiple goods into each town. Unfortunately, on hard mode, since your trains have to be running with stuff in them going both ways, it can be really difficult to get more than just the oil, fuel, and cattle food production chains going. I didn't plan, I think when I had originally scouted out the location for Eugene and Arlington here, I had planned on using the plastic. There's a plastic um, refinery over near here, and I was going to turn the wheat from the farm into plastic and then use that further down to produce robotics and some other items, tools. Well, it turns out that that requires steel, so steel and plastic will make robots or tools, but plastic on its own won't do anything without steel. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use that industry chain later on. I was poking around a little more around Eugene here, and I didn't see a whole lot of opportunities for that. Um, but for now, getting this oil going is going to be huge. And later on in the game, I think we're going to look at trying to find some creative solutions to get some other goods somewhere. I've been playing around with a medium difficulty game to try to experiment with truck train combos. And I have some pretty good ideas I think that we might be able to apply in the future here. As far as recording goes, I'm at 1922, and I'm looking at trying to expand a little more some of our goods business. But for now, we're going to go off of this fast forward recording and go back to the live commentary. It is 1905, and we have got ourselves our debt paid off entirely and $4 million in the bank. So there is some money for us to be spending. We have oil going to and from, right? I don't think that there's any fuel coming actually into Arlington. I should check the line for that. So Arlington Fuel, there's only the one train on it. It's still not carrying anything. What is going on with Arlington that we are not getting fuel there? I have trucks, and the trucks are delivering, right? Is food coming into Arlington? That's passengers. I believe that's the fuel train we. That's the. Well, that's Eugene Fuel. And that's the passengers. Which one's this? Arlington Fuel. Now, it has carried fuel at some point. I don't understand why it's not. It doesn't seem to be getting any oil. Alright, well, it does now. Alright, so, you know, I think I probably need to get another train set up on that line. Those have 10 fuel cars and a mogul. They did release the Atlantic, but I believe that I want to wait for the next train, especially since I kind of just upgraded all my trains to moguls. It's just too soon after the Atlantic to go up to the Atlantic. Now the Atlantic is 15 miles an hour faster. It's considerably faster. It's not really that much more expensive for the running costs either. So it might turn out that I'm not making the right decision here, but I'm going to stick with it. I don't think in hard mode you can really afford to upgrade your trains every time a new train comes out. Seems like that isn't going to work, but I don't know. I've only been successful once in hard mode so far. I feel we're doing pretty good with this one. We're not, we're not putting on the Ritz or anything, but we're making money pretty steadily, it feels like. Oh, this was it, the top speed for this train. One thing I noticed as I edited up the first 5 episodes of this series is that I do not zoom in very much. And I bet you players like being zoomed in, especially for stuff like this where, we should be looking at how pretty the trains are and all those things. So, I mean, if we're going to kind of be killing time, I really prefer like this angle, the airplane type of view. So, we're still going to spend most of our time here, but I'll try to get zoomed in every once in a while. If for no other reason, then like it will make for nicer looking covers for the video at the beginning of the episode to have something like that. That looked pretty nice. And then I always leave these boxes open too, which is not too much of a problem, but I'd much rather have the full screen view like we have here. I'm not necessarily going to shut down the UI, but yeah, I don't need to leave those boxes open all the time. I feel like oh, okay, great. Okay, so this train is going to do well. And is that the other? That's not going to be fuel coming in, right? That's just a food train. But it looks like it's doing all right. It's definitely, oh boy, that is making a lot of money. Wow, that is real nice. And this is, that's great. The train makes a ton of money. I'd like to know how these other, like even how's the passenger train doing? Is it making money yet? No, but it's coming close. And I did double down on the passenger train, didn't I? They're running almost full. I think it's just not far enough to make a profit. What we need to do is we need to get like Phoenix connected down here. We could connect Phoenix, actually Independence would probably be the better one, but we could connect Phoenix and Independence through to this food factory. I don't really know if that's far enough. We could actually connect them both to that food factory. It's too bad San Diego doesn't have a, oh, they do have a farm. So I could take San Diego and even just running food to there from San Diego, and then I could set a train line from Eugene to San Diego, and I bet that would do really well. What's what does the terrain look like? It's pretty reasonable. And is there an oil? That would be too good to be true for San Diego to have an oil field. There's one over there, but that's not going to work for... Actually, wasn't there a refinery over on this end? There's one up there. There's a refinery right there. So actually, yeah, that would be pretty easy to connect up. Would be to connect. So we have San Diego. I guess that's not. I'll just write it here. San Diego has food, and the food probably would be over by Eugene. Is there another bakery shop further away? No, not really. But that's a reasonable distance. It's kind of a short line, but it's also going to be a very efficient line. I suppose we could service Fort Collins. Well, Fort Collins has its own food supply, but we could service Fort Collins with that factory. I think we set this one up to be able to service Fort Collins as well, and maybe it will. But we're definitely going to need to get that one set up. So San Diego food near Eugene, and oil also near Eugene. And I guess that line going over here could connect us over to West Jordan in theory. West Jordan doesn't really have any industries to support being over there. Charleston we could connect to, but again, Charleston doesn't really have, like, food is really what we're looking for. This food factory, I still think that the Phoenix and Independence food factory food would be better generated from this factory. We're going to run into some traffic problems, I think, if we connect all that stuff up. So what does it cost for a train nowadays? Probably close to $5 million. By the time we get enough money saved up, we're probably going to be looking at like $10 million to build a train. Let's see here. Mogul is $1 million, and then boxcars are $500,000 a piece. So 10 of those would be $5 million, so $6 million to build the train. So probably $8 million by the time. Well, these prices shouldn't change, so it's about $6 million to build the train. Maybe $1 million to build the track. So, you know, we actually might have that money by the time we get that stuff built. Is that what I want to do for my first expansion? I felt like the first expansion was going to be Independence and Phoenix. But I really think that San Diego would make a nice companion to Eugene and might help out our train line. I haven't tried doing multi-stop train lines, but I think that might work for this. I know that there were some issues doing it back with train fever, but it might have been fixed up for this one. So yeah, let's get that line laid down. I really enjoy laying down train lines in this game, and it's really too bad that I can't talk my way through doing it because it really is fun. But this is like 45 minutes worth of track laying that we're gonna look at here. I'm not for sure how long it took. Maybe it was closer to a half hour. But you know I just can't imagine trying to talk through all this. Not to mention that if I was trying to talk through it, because I have to concentrate pretty hard as I lay this track down, getting these interchanges and stuff in there. And if I had to try to talk while I was laying it down, I just don't see how I would be able to do that. It's difficult to keep commenting while I'm watching it, and I know what happened, you know. On the other hand, if I was commenting as I did it, I could probably provide pretty good insight on laying down these signals. Although now that I've gotten a little more practice setting up these complicated interchanges on these stations, I actually have a better plan for laying out signals than what I'm doing here. Kind of a longer term um, plan that can just deal with overall growth. Well, here we are. This is the food area down by San Diego. So this is going to be providing the food for San Diego, grain from here, which we will then take up to that farm near Eugene, or the bakery near Eugene, and turn that into food. So we'll have food running to all three of the towns that we have connected to our line here. And the goal is to connect oil to San Diego eventually, and then start running passengers between San Diego and Eugene. And I think the passengers there should be profitable. It's a very long distance route, and it's hard to say. Um, Trying to build a good, efficient Y is always interesting. I didn't want to have too steep a curve there. Wow, I actually went with that whole long curve. That's one good thing about not being broke anymore. We can afford to lay down $100,000 for a nice level straightaway when instead of having to nickel and dime it and do a $30,000 kind of unlevel straightaway. It's not a necessary expense. Doing the little unlevel straightaways doesn't really slow your train down, um, but it's kind of nice to be able to just chunk down that money and save a few moments and not have to worry about obsessing over where each square is going to be. Again, I've done a little more experimenting with placing stations in my easy, or well, it is an easy game. Oh my gosh, it's so easy playing on medium difficulty after playing on hard difficulty. Um, and I definitely have some interesting new ideas that I'm sure will show up in this series because I think we're going to get some pretty aggressive expansion, probably starting around episode 12 or 14. I'm not to that point yet, but just kind of looking ahead, I feel like we're already getting to that point at the episode. We're up through episode 9 that I've recorded already, and the expansion should get pretty fast here at that point. Uh, and so it's going to be fun to show the kind of new strategies I've picked up by playing on the medium difficulty. I do want to say I posted. I guess it was just today. I posted episode 1 of this series on the subreddit, Transport Fever subreddit, and a bunch of people seems to have come over from there. My videos definitely went up a lot of views because of that. So if you're here from that subreddit, please leave a comment, and I hope to hear from you. I hope to hear what you think, and I hope you enjoy watching this. If you have any questions or anything, but I was hoping to make this, kind of a not really a tutorial, but something where you could watch and see what happens. And it's hard to make money on hard difficulty, but it can be done. And I guess we're back to the live commentary. It is now 1910, and we have got our line set up between San Diego and the food factory down here in Eugene. We just want to buy a train here, and we can get it going. So this will be exciting, connecting a new town. It'll take a few years to get things going, to get the supply and demand and everything running here, but we will get that started. And let's see, we're at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And that's the first step, is getting that thing going. So we can keep an eye on that train as we turn up the speed here. From way up here, this doesn't look like a very long route, but I think it's going to be plenty profitable once it starts going. And we are making some pretty good money here. We're at 23 million. We'll let that run kind of in the background here. Our I want to see what's making us so much money over here. Has this Arlington Fuel line started paying off yet? Looks like it is. Geez, full. Wow, look at that. So much money. And the other, is that the other Arlington Fuel line, the returning one? No, that's Eugene. So it's still not running full coming back, but it's making pretty good money too. Very good. Oh, I really like that. And how are we doing on, oh, look at all that fuel over there, so much fuel. Are we meeting the demand? Are we exceeding demand? We're only meeting half the demand on fuel. And how about here in Arlington? Arlington could also use more fuel. So you know what? I'm going to throw another train on each line. Although I want to look at my thing here. We might be upgrading all of our trains here soon. So I might be better off to wait. We have a Mikado coming out in 1918. And it seems like they come out a couple of years ahead on this compared to what they were doing. But you know, I think I'd rather get the new trains running, and because I think they'll pay for themselves in a couple of years. So let's get those running. We'll just do moguls. We're going to throw 10 cars on them. We're going to clone it. And we're going to set this one to Eugene Fuel. And we'll set that one to Arlington Fuel. Go ahead and close those windows. I'm interested in how this exchange is working out. I haven't noticed any problems with trains being stuck, but on the other hand, I haven't really watched for trains being stuck either. I guess we could watch more of the exchange like that. That's kind of interesting looking. So yeah, I like it when they go by each other real fast here, but of course this train just pulling out, brand new train. So our San Diego train has already got livestock on it. It must have just finished up with one delivery. So that's good. It's already pulling a little bit of supply and demand out of there. I think after it runs another loop or two, we should be able to throw a second train onto that line. We just burned through a lot of money. I guess we just did build 2 brand new full-size trains. But you know, we went through like $14 million in that little short period of time. Has our passenger line become profitable yet? No, not really. I mean, it's not losing too much money, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't seem like we should be running an unprofitable passenger line. I guess what I could do is, well, that's not going to change anything because it's running full. I was going to say I could move one of the trains to Eugene, San Diego, but I don't think it's the going to San Diego part that's the problem. Okay, so this is the brand new train and it's running full. This train just left San Diego, so it's going to be heading back to the station. We can see it. Now, see, I don't like it when it does this. Why is it dropping this food off here to be delivered to Arlington? There's the train that's coming from Arlington. Is it going to pick up food, take it all the way to the food factory, and then bring it all the way back? I do like this, though. Look at all that fuel that we've just got sitting there. So, you know, the next Eugene train that comes in, like I could have 2 more Eugene trains coming in right now, and they could both leave full. Ah, very nice. Thought that train was gonna have to stop, but it didn't. Down here, oh, see, that worked out pretty well. This train still ended up having to stop, unfortunately. I think that I could redo, well, with the road crossing and this thing in there, probably can't really redo it. I suppose I could redo what I should do is put the crossover on this side a little further back, like connect more like there or something. Yeah, I don't know. It's a complicated switch. I feel like it works pretty well. I'd also have to kind of fix up all the signals if I were to go through and change it. And I feel like I laid down the signals really well when I did it, but I don't remember exactly what was going on at the time. I'm sure we can get a decent view of, I don't like all those things there. I can tell every time I save it and reload it because those little red things start coming back up. Trains are just a little too smoky, unfortunately. I mean, they look amazing when they're passing by like this, but when you look at a static screenshot of them, it doesn't look quite so great, like for making the cover of you know, the title card of the video and whatnot. Probably, how's this train doing here? It is leaving the food factory with very little food. Meanwhile, okay, that's a different food factory. Meanwhile, here we've got a little bit of livestock lined up. So I don't really want to throw this train. I could probably throw this train on there as this train is heading back in the other direction. That is going to be it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching this playthrough of Transport Fever. If you have, you should click the like button down below. That's a good way to say, hey, I liked watching this. You know, another good way to say that you liked watching it is to quietly just come back tomorrow and watch up the next episode and then all subsequent episodes. I really appreciate you guys watching. It's really nice to see all the views that this video is getting, especially, like I said, to see almost probably more than double views just today. And I assume, I mean, that has to be people coming over from the Reddit. So thank you very much for coming over and watching it. And I hope you will continue to enjoy this. I'm really having a lot of fun playing this. But, you know, I don't want to post videos that people aren't watching. So I hope you guys will keep watching it so I can keep making them. And let me know what you think about the editing. Am I cutting out too much? Is there too much of that fast forward stuff that maybe just isn't all that interesting? I do think that once we get more into like 1940 or something, I probably won't be fast forwarding much at all anymore because it's just going to be enough money to where I won't have to sit around and wait for money, and enough different trains going on to where we can follow what's going on in real time. So that'll be exciting. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.